Okay, another cooking video. I'm going to do, I've been doing grilled burgers and grilled pork steaks for a couple days, but I'm going to pan fry a pork steak. $2.99 a pound at my local market, and they're delicious. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a sauce, a creamy sauce. And I'm going to use onion and garlic, butter. I'm going to make a roux out of that with some flour. I'm going to finish it off. Well, first I'm going to add chicken stock and reduce it. Then I'm going to finish it off with tarragon and half. I may even put a dollop of cream cheese in it. We'll see how it goes. But tarragon is an interesting herb. If you use it fresh, there's not too much worry. It goes great with whitefish, chicken, and pork. I like it in a chicken stock reduction. For whitefish, actually, I prefer the dried, and you just, poach it or broil it or bake it and sprinkle just like a tiny bit of ground tarragon on it. But tarragon is an herb that less is more, especially when it's dried like this. And you can see I have very little left, but it will be plenty. It will be more than plenty because less is more. If you overpower it with tarragon, especially dried tarragon, it will completely dominate the dish, so you have to be very careful. All right, so we'll get going. Right now I have vegetables roasting in the oven, so I want to time this right, so I have to pause it right now. I'm all prepped, and as soon as the vegetables get a good enough away, I will resume for the cooking of the pork steak and making the creamy sauce, tarragon sauce. Okay, the roasted veggies, mixed veggies, still in the oven, about 10 minutes or so to go. So I've started to cook the pork steak. Now, normally I grill these, but in this case I'm making a creamy sauce. So I want to render some of that pork fat. And I'm going to be doing a combination of, I keep it at pretty high heat, not medium. I want it to be extra crispy, and I want to render some of that fat for the roux, fat for the cooking the onions and the garlic, and also for the roux, and then the reduction and ultimately the creamy tarragon sauce. So the reason I cover is to increase the heat to crazy levels. It will get upwards of 900 to 1,000 degrees inside there, and it will render a lot of the fat. You can't achieve this on a grill, incidentally, typically, unless it's crazy, and then you end up getting a fire going. So anyway, I'll be back. Update. Okay, time to flip it. It's only like 3 minutes in, but with this small of cover, it heats up very fast. See the fat rendering already. And there you go. That's how it should look like. And we cover again. Do the other side. All right, I'll be back. All right, let's continue for the final stretch. The roasted vegetables are done. Now here's a trick. If you keep your oven on, these are on the cookie sheet. They look a little dry, but I have sauce. Then you can put them under the vent. That will keep them hot while you finish off. Now, as for the pork steak, we're going to do the same thing, but I got to finish it off here. Look at that. Now we're going to render some of the fat on the bottom here in its own fat, of course. And we're going to turn down the heat to low for right now. Render a little bit more. That is nicely medium. I prefer pork medium. You know, a pristine pork fillet, I'll do medium rare. But in this application, not really. And you do the same thing here. So that's the vent that keeps it warm. Okay, let's make the sauce. I'm gonna introduce butter. And while the pork fat is browned like bacon, the butter is not, and we're going to immediately introduce the onion. Stir it around. Onion takes a little bit longer. All you want with the garlic is to be you know, it smells, what is it, I forget the word, sorry. I'm cooking, I'm focusing here. See, now I can already smell the onion. Want to let that go for a little while here. Get a little bit toasty, but not too much. Don't want burnt onion. Then it gets acrid. That's a term I remembered. All right, now the garlic. And you just do it until you start smelling it. About 30 seconds or so, actually, not that long. And I'm on this at low heat because I had the pan on high for so long for the pork steak that there's a lot of residual heat. So I'm taking it easy. So actually the low temperature setting. So now, okay, I can smell the garlic. Now we do a roux. And the reason you use see, people use, like, there is starches that you can use, like potato starch and cornstarch for thickening, but those are for like soups and stews and whatnot. The reason to do a roux with flour, just basic flour, is it doesn't clump up, see? If you were to use a starch, it would immediately create what I call GHTs, gelatinous hard things. So there we go. There's the basic roux. Now we're going to turn it up to high as we introduce the chicken stock for the reduction. About that much should be good, and it goes to high. Fire it. And I know this makes the video a little bit longer than it should be, but I want you to see the steps so that when you do it, it's flawless. See how that is? It's already thickening, right? Actually, that's a little too soon. I could use a little bit more chicken stock in there. You have to judge as you go along. I don't really cook by hyper weights and measures. I do it by feel. You know, just know the basics and go by feel. All right, we're coming up on the finishing here now. Things move quickly, surprisingly, once you get there. All right, we're gonna put the heat on medium. and we're going to add the tarragon. Now, as I said before, tarragon, I'm going to do about that much. Dried. If it was fresh and chopped, minced, probably like 3 times that much, because you know it desiccates when it dries, loses its volume. But that's what's deceptive, is because it's a very strong herb. All right, now we're going to do the, I'm going to use half and half, not heavy cream. I don't have heavy cream, but I do have half and half. A little bit more. And why not? Let's do a dollop of cream cheese in it. That'll help with the thickening. Philadelphia brand. Did you hear that Great Britain today canned some Volkswagen ads and Philadelphia cream cheese ads because they actually show men and women in traditional male and female roles, and they wanted to protect children from getting any sort of a prejudice as to what their options are. In other words, they're subverting parents and saying, no kids, anything goes. Any stupid idea you have goes, and we're gonna circumvent and subvert your parents because they're likely to tell you to shut your stupid fucking mouth that knows nothing and send you to bed without dinner, which is what should happen to all kids on a regular basis now, because they're all so fucking stupid. And you have 80 to 100 IQ Democrats who, because they don't have any arguments, they now go to children and they have children make their arguments for them. Democrats are the stupidest people on earth. And if this offends you, go fuck yourself. All right, so we're just about done here. Even Democrats could maybe do this recipe as easy as I've made it, even as stupid and low IQ as they are. So, well, that's a lot of sauce. I should reduce it a little bit more. But let me do a taste test here real quick. Oh, tarragon comes through perfect. Actually, not too strong. I'm gonna do another like half pinch of it, like that, because it's so good. Even though it's still reducing, but I know I didn't overshoot it. That's what's good. Okay, back to low. Actually off. All right. Let that just finish off. I'll be right back to plate. I want this to sit, the sauce to sit just a bit. All right, now for the plating. It's ready to go. Just a couple minutes I was gone. So first I'm gonna take the veggies. Now, one step I didn't show you is that when as the pork steak was resting, of course it drained mostly fat. So, you know, a couple tablespoons worth actually. And I would put some butter on those, or I would toss them in some butter actually. But since we have this sauce, no need. So what I did was I reintroduced that couple tablespoons of resting rendered fat from the pork steak into the sauce and stirred it in. All right. Now I'm gonna spoon this on so that I do get plenty of the chunky Normally I strain my sauces, but for a country-like gravy sauce like this, it's fine to keep the chunks, and that should be about right without overdoing it. And so I have something left over for tomorrow, just a little bit, maybe on a biscuit or something, a toasted biscuit with egg, a toasted English muffin, something like that. A little sprig of pepper to finish off, and there you have it. That's my lunch. Not even dinner yet.